Okay, so following on from the previous tutorial, I've created this animation here. It's 1 second long. It's just this continuous loop of the zombie walking, but it's only looping because the animation plays to the end and then it automatically goes back to the beginning and plays again. But what if I wanted to make this zombie walk across the screen? Well, it'd be quite a complicated thing if I needed to recreate all of the keyframes that I've previously made. If I choose one of the layers and press U, you'll see all the keyframes for that layer, which is just for the head. But all the other layers, again, just select a layer and press U and you'll see the keyframes. It would be a real pain to have to recreate all of those again or copy and paste them multiple times to make the zombie walk, for any kind of length across the screen. So we're going to look at a simpler method of getting the zombie to walk for a longer distance. So what I'm going to do is make sure all of my layers are unlocked, and then I'll select them all, and then I'm going to right click here and choose this option called pre-compose. Okay, and then in here I'm going to type the word zombie, and what that does is it makes a self-contained animation of those frames. So now you see that all of these frames or layers have been combined into one pre-composed animation. So you see all the original parts are still in the project window, but you also see this new composition called zombie, and that's what appears in the timeline. This timeline, however, still lasts only 1 second. Okay, so I'm going to extend this timeline to 10 seconds in duration so that I can make the zombie walk across the screen. So to change the composition, we go into the composition menu, choose composition settings, and here's the settings that we used at the beginning. So I've got 1 second here, so I'm going to change this to 10 seconds. Okay, so let's just zoom out so we can see the whole timeline. So you can see the whole timeline there from 0 up to 10 seconds, but the zombie only appears for 1 second, then disappears, because that's the length of that animation. You only made it 1 second long. So we're going to look at a way of extending the time that appears on the screen and looping the animation continuously. So for this layer, to extend the animation, we need to go into the layer menu, choose time, and enable time remapping. So now with that time remapping enabled, we're going to use a bit of programming within After Effects to loop the animation. So After Effects has this built-in kind of programming tool called expressions that we can add to our animation, and we're going to enable this on the time remapping here. So I'm holding down the Alt key on my keyboard and clicking on this stopwatch here, and we're going to add a little bit of programming in here. I'm going to put in the command loop out, so it's loop all in lowercase, then a capital O for out, and then inside a set of brackets, and that will tell the animation to loop when it gets to the end, so it'll loop automatically back to the beginning. Okay, we'll just hit enter to set that. Okay, so you see the expression there, and then I can now extend the time of this animation from 1 second up to however many seconds I want. Okay, and I'll play back the animation, and you'll see now that instead of lasting for just 1 second, the animation plays continuously for the whole 10 seconds. Now there is one slight little hiccup here, and that is at the end of the first second, you'll see that the animation kind of blips out, just goes blank, just for one frame. Okay, so there's a little workaround for that to get that to stop happening, and we need to be on this frame here. So I'm going to just select that keyframe there and just click here so that it moves the playhead along to that frame there. So what's happening is it's actually playing this last frame here, which is blank, before it loops back to the beginning of the animation. So what we're going to do is, using the preview tools up here, I'm going to click this one to go to the previous frame. Okay, so it goes one frame previous to the current one, and I'm going to add a keyframe in there, and then I'm going to move forward to the very last keyframe, that's that one there, select it and then press delete. Okay, and that will get rid of that blank frame of animation. So let's rewind and play the animation again. And there we go. We get a full looping animation of the zombie for the full 10 seconds. So it's a little bit fiddly, but it's quite a useful thing to be able to do. So you can make a short animation, but make it loop continuously. Okay, so the next thing we'll do is actually make the zombie move across the screen. Okay, so to make the zombie move across the screen is fairly simple. Because this is just one layer now, we can actually move this whole object. So let's just drag them over to the side here and just place it so I can just see the hands appearing at the left hand side. Okay, and then I'm going to go into the transform settings for this object, or this layer, and I'm going to move the playhead along to 0 seconds and just hit the stopwatch to add a keyframe for the position here. And then I'll move to the end of the timeline, 10 seconds, and I'm going to drag the object over to the right, just so he's just going off the edge of the screen there. Okay, so you see that's the path that the zombie is going to follow, and that's automatically placed a keyframe at the end there. So let's rewind and play back the animation, and you see that what we've got now then is a walking zombie that goes right across the screen. So you can now go ahead and add other objects into the background or the foreground of this animation. So what I'd like you to do is go and make some graphics for this. So some kind of background, maybe a graveyard or something. We want some ground, we want some gravestones, maybe a church or something in the background. You could have some bats flying around, some scary trees, some lightning and things like that. Okay, so we're going to turn this into a more complex animation. Right, so here is an example of the kind of thing you can do with some additional background, graphics and effects. So let me just play this for you. So there's our zombie, which I've modified a little bit, walking through a graveyard, and we've got some rain effects and also some lightning effects in the background there. Okay, so if we have a little look at how this is constructed, there's the zombie that we made earlier. I've got a solid object being placed on top here, a white coloured object to make the rain drops white. And what I've done is I've applied the simulation effect for rainfall. And I haven't changed any of the settings for that, that's just the default settings I've used. For the background, I've created graphics in Photoshop. So there's the kind of graveyard ground, and then there's another layer that contains the black silhouettes of the tree and church and things. And I've also got kind of just a dark blue kind of background for the sky as well. Now the lightning effects are just solid objects, so you'll see they just appear here on the timeline. So there's the first lightning effect, this one here. So this is a solid object that I've made, and then I've applied the advanced lightning effect, which you'll find under the generate menu. So you've got advanced lightning, and I've only made a couple of little changes to that to actually animate the lightning. So let's just play that back once more so you can see the whole thing. So you see when the lightning kicks in at 3 points during the animation. And I think that's quite an effective little animation now. Okay, so you can go ahead and give it a try making this yourself.